What happens when stardom meets the underworld? Hollywood's glitter hides blood-soaked secrets few dare to uncover. The Mafia doesn't just kill in the movies. They've silenced some of entertainment's biggest names. Which A-lister was buried alive while still breathing? The answer will chill your bones. 1. Bugsy Siegel. The man who built Las Vegas wasn't just a visionary. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel transformed a desert stopover into a gambling paradise, all while dating Hollywood starlets and throwing the wildest parties Tinseltown had ever seen. But his charm couldn't save him from what happened on that fateful night in 1947. Sitting in his girlfriend Virginia Hill's Beverly Hills mansion, Siegel was reading the Los Angeles Times when a barrage of bullets shattered the window. 9 shots. A .30 caliber military M1 carbine tore through his face and body. The killers were so precise that one bullet literally blew his eye across the room. The murder remains officially unsolved, but mob insiders claim Siegel's fatal mistake was skimming millions from the Flamingo Hotel construction. When the casino initially flopped, patience ran out. Frank Costello reportedly received a phone call during dinner, simply stating, "The baby has gone to sleep." His only response? "I understand." The hit was approved at the highest levels. 2. Johnny Stompanato. Hollywood's most notorious gangster boyfriend ended up bleeding out on Lana Turner's bedroom floor. And it wasn't a movie scene. Johnny Stompanato, Mickey Cohen's bodyguard and enforcer, clawed his way into Tinseltown's inner circle through his tumultuous affair with screen goddess Lana Turner. Their relationship was pure tabloid gold, passionate, violent, and ultimately deadly. On Good Friday, 1958, Stompanato's temper exploded in Turner's Beverly Hills home. Threatening to disfigure the star's famous face, he never saw what was coming next. Turner's 4-year-old daughter, Cheryl, grabbed a kitchen knife and plunged it into his abdomen. He died within minutes, leaving behind Hollywood's most shocking crime scene. The subsequent inquest became the hottest ticket in town. Stars packed the courtroom to watch Turner deliver the performance of her life, sobbing through testimony about Stompanato's abuse. When the ruling came back as justifiable homicide, whispers erupted. Had Turner actually done the stabbing herself? Was it a mob hit disguised as domestic violence? Mickey Cohen was devastated, publicly mourning his right-hand man while privately vowing vengeance. He even sold Stompanato's love letters at auction to humiliate Turner. The scandal nearly destroyed her career, with viewers boycotting her films. 3. Thelma Todd. Hollywood called her the ice cream blonde, but Thelma Todd's death left a chill no sweet nickname could thaw. The comedic actress, who starred alongside Marx Brothers and Laurel and Hardy, was found slumped over the wheel of her Lincoln convertible on December 16, 1935, in a garage above her seaside cafe. Carbon monoxide poisoning, they said. But nobody was laughing at this punchline. Todd had been receiving threatening notes for months. Why? Her popular restaurant, Thelma Todd's Sidewalk Cafe, had become a goldmine. When Todd refused to let mobsters use her business for their operations, the threats intensified. Her final night alive, she attended a party at the Trocadero, leaving in good spirits around 3:45 a.m. By morning, she was dead. The investigation raised more questions than answers. Her body showed signs of violence. Blood was found on her dress. The garage door was locked from the outside. Most damning of all, rigor mortis indicated she died hours before being placed in the car. 4. George Raft. He played gangsters on screen but danced with real ones off-camera, and it almost got him killed. George Raft, the smooth-moving actor who defined the Hollywood gangster image, walked a dangerous line between entertainment and the underworld. Childhood friends with Bugsy Siegel and owning a piece of the mob-controlled Flamingo Hotel, Raft didn't just act like a gangster. What most fans didn't know was how close Raft came to having his life story end like his films. In 1942, while shooting Broadway, Raft received a phone call warning him not to return to his hotel room. When police investigated, they found two hitmen waiting inside, with orders to make his death look like a robbery gone wrong. The hit was allegedly arranged by Lucky Luciano over a gambling debt Raft couldn't pay. Raft survived that attempt, but his mob connections continued to haunt him. The FBI placed him under surveillance, his passport was temporarily revoked, and his career began a slow decline. Hollywood studios became wary of casting an actor who might bring unwanted attention from both organized crime and federal agents. James Cagney once remarked, "George Raft's problem wasn't that he knew gangsters, it's that they knew exactly where to find him." 5. Ted Healey, the forgotten founder of the Three Stooges, died under circumstances so suspicious they've been whispered about for decades. Ted Healey, the vaudeville mastermind who created the slapstick trio before they famously split from him, ended his final night at the Trocadero nightclub in Hollywood. December 21, 1937. Healey was celebrating the birth of his son when he encountered three very recognizable figures: Wallace Beery, Albert Broccoli, and Pat DiCicco, a known mob enforcer and MGM fixer. Witnesses reported a heated argument. What happened next remains Hollywood legend. Healey was allegedly followed outside and brutally beaten by the trio. He died from his injuries the next day. The official cause of death? Acute toxic nephritis. But emergency room doctors noted severe head trauma, broken ribs, and evidence of a vicious beating. MGM executive Eddie Mannix reportedly stepped in, using studio power to the pressure authorities into hiding the truth. Why? Wallace Beery was an Oscar-winning MGM star. The studio couldn't afford to lose to a murder charge. Number 6. Marilyn Monroe. America's most iconic blonde bombshell may have been silenced by the very men who once adored her. Marilyn Monroe's death in 1962 was officially ruled a probable self-inflicted, but decades of investigation point toward a far more sinister ending, orchestrated by underworld figures terrified of what she knew and who she'd told. Monroe's web of dangerous connections included her rumored affairs with both President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert. What many don't realize is that she also kept company with notorious Chicago outfit members through her ties to Frank Sinatra and his Rat Pack. Phone records show that on her final day alive, Monroe called Sinatra's associate Johnny Roselli, a mobster who would later be found dismembered in an oil drum floating in Biscayne Bay. Private Detective Fred Otosh, who had bugged Monroe's home, claimed she had recorded evidence of her trysts with the Kennedys. Former Los Angeles County Prosecutor John Miner, who was present at her autopsy, insisted there was evidence of foul play that was deliberately overlooked. Most damning was the testimony of ambulance attendant James Hall, who claimed Monroe was alive when first responders arrived, then was ordered to leave by men in suits who took control of the scene. 7. Sam Giancana. He wasn't a Hollywood star, but Sam Giancana pulled more strings in entertainment than any studio boss. The Chicago mob kingpin who dated Phyllis McGuire of the McGuire sisters and befriended Frank Sinatra didn't just control nightclub bookings. Giancana's Hollywood power was legendary. When Sinatra begged for his career-saving role in From Here to Eternity, it wasn't Columbia Pictures that made the decision. It was Giancana who reportedly made producer Harry Cohen an offer he couldn't refuse. When Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis split, insiders whispered it was Giancana who orchestrated the breakup to advance Martin's solo career. But by 1975, Giancana had become a liability to both the Mafia and his government contacts. Set to testify before a Senate committee about the CIA's plot to assassinate Fidel Castro, Giancana was cooking Italian sausage in his Oak Park basement when a trusted associate put a .22 caliber pistol against his head. The hitman fired once into his chin, then 6 more times in a circle around his mouth. 8. Virginia Hill. They called her the Flamingo, but Virginia Hill's fiery life ended in an icy mystery that haunts Hollywood to this day. As Bugsy Siegel's girlfriend and the Mafia's most glamorous courier, Hill transported millions in mob cash between Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and Switzerland while dating movie stars and living in Beverly Hills luxury. When Siegel was murdered in her home in 1947, Hill was conveniently in Paris. Many believe she knew the hit was coming, perhaps even helped set it up. She testified before the Kefauver Committee in 1951, famously snapping, "I know nothing about nothin'." Despite her defiance, Hill fled to Europe afterward, living in Austria with a ski instructor husband half her age. In 1966, Hill's body was found on an Austrian mountainside near Salzburg. The official ruling was controversial, but those who knew Hill's secrets never bought it. Her son from a previous marriage insisted she would never kill herself and was preparing to return to the United States. More tellingly, she had recently told friends she planned to write a memoir exposing the truth behind Siegel's murder and naming names that would shake Hollywood to its core. 9. William Desmond Taylor. The unsolved murder that changed Hollywood forever wasn't just a crime, it was a calculated mafia message. William Desmond Taylor, Paramount's superstar director, was found dead in his bungalow on February 2, 1922, with a single bullet in his back. The subsequent cover-up revealed how deeply organized crime had already infiltrated the film industry. Taylor wasn't just a creative genius, he was a crusader against drug trafficking in Hollywood, publicly condemning the dealers who supplied stars like Wallace Reed and Olive Thomas with lethal doses of heroin and cocaine. What few realized was that these dealers worked for East Coast crime families, establishing control over Los Angeles vice operations. The murder scene was compromised immediately. Paramount executives arrived before police, removing evidence including love letters and photographs that might harm the studio's stars. More disturbing was the mysterious man impersonating a doctor who examined Taylor's body and disappeared. 10. Lana Turner. Hollywood's ultimate femme fatale didn't just play dangerous women on screen. She lived surrounded by deadly men off-camera. While Lana Turner survived her infamous entanglement with Johnny Stompanato, few realize how close she came to being eliminated afterward. After Stompanato's death, Mickey Cohen didn't just publicly mourn his enforcer, he quietly plotted revenge. Cohen believed Turner had stabbed Stompanato herself and convinced her daughter to take the blame. When Turner's career miraculously recovered with Imitation of Life in 1959, Cohen was incensed. According to his driver, Cohen arranged 3 separate hit attempts on Turner, all aborted when she was surrounded by too many witnesses. What saved Turner temporarily was an unlikely alliance. Studio head Harry Cohn assigned members of his own mob connections to protect his valuable star. After Cohn's death in 1958, that protection began to fade. Turner's final years were marked by increasing paranoia. She rarely left home without a bodyguard and installed elaborate security systems in her Beverly Hills mansion. Turner's death in 1995 was officially attributed to throat cancer. But questions linger. Her daughter, Cheryl Crane, later revealed that Turner had received threatening phone calls until her final days, often just breathing, followed by the click of a gun hammer. Turner confided to friends that she believed they're still waiting to finish what they started. 11. Paul Kelly. The Oscar-nominated actor born Vasily transformed himself into Hollywood royalty, but couldn't escape the underworld connections from his Hell's Kitchen youth. Paul Kelly's remarkable career included Broadway triumphs and screen classics like Adventure and Crossfire, all while hiding dark ties to East Coast crime families that would eventually collect their due. Kelly's fatal mistake came in 1927, when he beat actor Ray Raymond to death in a brawl over Raymond's wife, Dorothy Mackay. Sentenced to prison, Kelly was mysteriously released after serving just 2 years of a 10-year sentence. Studio insiders whispered that New York gangster Owen Madden had pulled strings, adding Kelly to the growing list of performers who owed favors to the mob. For decades, Kelly paid his debt by laundering money through investments in Broadway shows and introducing crime figures to Hollywood power players. But by 1956, Kelly had begun distancing himself from these obligations, even privately cooperating with a California Crime Commission investigation into racketeering in the film industry. On November 6, 1956, Kelly suffered what was officially called a heart attack while preparing for a television role. The medical examiner noted unusual bruising around his chest, but attributed it to aggressive resuscitation attempts. 12. Mickey Cohen. Hollywood's most flamboyant gangster loved the spotlight so much, it eventually blinded him to the dangers closing in. Mickey Cohen controlled Los Angeles vice operations while hosting celebrities at his Sunset Strip haberdashery and nightclubs, becoming as famous as the stars he extorted. With his dapper suits and pet bulldogs, Cohen was the gangster who made no attempt to hide. Unlike most mobsters, Cohen courted publicity, giving interviews, posing for photographs, and even inspiring characters in films like The Godfather and L.A. Confidential. His Brentwood home became a hotspot for industry parties where actors mingled uneasily with killers. As comedian Milton Berle once quipped, "At Mickey's parties, you never knew if the next person you'd meet was going to offer you a movie role or a concrete swimsuit." Cohen's theatrical lifestyle masked serious criminal enterprise, controlling bookmaking, loan sharking, and narcotics throughout Los Angeles. When rival Jack Dragna attempted to assassinate Cohen at Sherry's restaurant in 1949, the resulting gun battle made national headlines. Cohen emerged unscathed but flecked with the blood of his bodyguard, calmly telling reporters, "My tailor's going to be upset." Cohen survived multiple assassination attempts but couldn't survive changing times. After serving prison sentences for tax evasion, he returned to a Los Angeles no longer under his control. 13. Abe. They called him Kid Twist, and his fatal plunge from a Coney Island hotel window silenced the most dangerous mouth in mob history, one that was about to name names in Hollywood. Abe Reles wasn't a star, but as Murder Incorporated's most prolific killer turned government witness, he was prepared to expose the entertainment industry's deepest criminal connections. By 1941, Reles had already testified against several mob figures and was under police protection at the Half Moon Hotel while awaiting his most explosive testimony yet, revealing how Murder Incorporated had established blackmail and extortion operations targeting major studio executives and stars. According to FBI files, Reles claimed to have evidence linking mobster Frank Costello to payoffs from multiple Academy Award-winning actors and a major Reles studio head. On November 12, 1941, despite being guarded by 6 police officers, Reles somehow fell to his death from his 6th-floor hotel window. The official story claimed he was trying to escape using tied-together sheets, but the knots were professional grade, not the work of an amateur. More tellingly, the sheets weren't actually secured to anything in the room, making an escape attempt implausible. The case became known as the canary who could sing but couldn't fly. Hollywood figures who had been nervously awaiting subpoenas suddenly breathed easier. 14. Pat DiCicco. Hollywood's most connected agent was actually the mob's man in the movie business, until his deadly game of double-crossing caught up with him. Pat DiCicco's official title was talent agent and producer, but his real job was serving as Lucky Luciano's entertainment industry enforcer while married to tobacco heiress Gloria Vanderbilt and later to actress Thelma Todd. DiCicco moved seamlessly between mansions and mob meetings, arranging studio contracts that included kickbacks to crime families and ensuring stars paid their gambling debts. When actress Clara Bow faced financial ruin from her gambling addiction, it was DiCicco who orchestrated her career's sudden end after she couldn't pay. As director Billy Wilder once remarked, "In Hollywood, you had your agent, your publicist, and your DiCicco, and you feared the last one most." His marriage to Thelma Todd ended shortly before her suspicious death, which many believe DiCicco arranged at the mob's request after she refused to allow gambling at her popular restaurant. His involvement in Ted Healey's fatal beating alongside actor Wallace Beery was covered up through his connections to MGM fixer Eddie Mannix. DiCicco's own end came in 1978, officially from natural causes. But former LAPD detective Gene Roddenberry maintained that DiCicco's death had assisted natural causes after he began cooperating with a federal investigation into decades of Hollywood extortion. 15. Al Capone. The world's most famous gangster didn't just control Chicago. He had Hollywood in his pocket, too. Al Capone's influence extended far beyond bootlegging and racketeering, reaching directly into the golden age of cinema, where his approval could make or break careers, and his anger could end them permanently. What few film histories acknowledge is that Capone controlled distribution for numerous theaters across the Midwest, giving him leverage to demand kickbacks from studios wanting their films shown. Stars, including Jean Harlow, Clark Gable, and James Cagney, were required to make appearances at Capone's Chicago venues, with refusal not an option. When Harlow initially declined such an invitation, her beloved pet dog was reportedly returned to her apartment, skinned. Capone didn't just enjoy Hollywood's output. He demanded script approval on any film depicting gangsters. The original ending of 1931's Little Caesar was changed after Capone's representatives expressed displeasure, and scenes in Scarface were reshot at his insistence. Director Howard Hawks later admitted, "We had a consultant on set direct from Capone's organization to ensure authenticity and survival." Most chilling was Capone's documented meeting with Louis B. Mayer in 1927, where the crime boss proposed a formal arrangement: regular payments from MGM in exchange for labor peace and protection from theater bombing that had plagued studios refusing partnership. Mayer reportedly asked what would happen if he declined. Capone smiled and replied, "Then MGM will soon be known as Missing Good Men." The deal was struck within hours. 16. Johnny Roselli. The mob's ambassador to Hollywood lived a life more incredible than any script he influenced. Johnny Roselli didn't just work with the studios, he practically ran them, serving as the bridge between crime families and film, executives while producing movies, dating stars, and eventually orchestrating his own spectacular downfall. Arriving in Los Angeles in the 1920s, Roselli quickly established himself as Al Capone's West Coast representative. His genius was appearing legitimate, joining the Screen Producers Guild, befriending studio heads, and even dating actresses like Jean Harlow while quietly overseeing rackets throughout the entertainment industry. Under his sophisticated guidance, the mob infiltrated film unions, creating a stranglehold on production that guaranteed steady payoffs. Roselli's power peaked in the 1940s when he helped extort millions from major studios by threatening debilitating strikes. His friendship with Harry Cohn at Columbia Pictures and relationships with stars, including Marilyn Monroe, gave him unprecedented access. Frank Sinatra reportedly owed his career-saving role in From Here to Eternity to Roselli's intervention with Cohn, a favor the singer repaid with lifetime loyalty. By the 1960s, Roselli had expanded beyond Hollywood, becoming involved in CIA plots to assassinate Fidel Castro. When summoned to testify before the Senate about these operations in 1976, Roselli knew too much to live. 10 days before his scheduled appearance, fishermen discovered a floating oil drum in Florida's Biscayne Bay. Inside was Roselli's dismembered body, his legs sawn off to fit the container. 17. Ciro Terranova. They called him the Artichoke King. But Ciro Terranova's empire extended far beyond produce into Hollywood's golden era, where he controlled what Americans watched on screen until his spectacular fall from power. As lieutenant to crime boss Giuseppe Masseria, Terranova monopolized New York's artichoke market, a seemingly modest racket that provided cover for his true cash cow, entertainment industry extortion. Terranova's brilliant innovation was recognizing film's growing importance in American culture. By 1925, he had established a network of movie advisors in major studios, ostensibly to ensure accurate portrayals of Italian Americans, but actually serving as his eyes and ears in Hollywood. These plants provided inside information on films depicting organized crime, allowing Terranova to demand changes or payments to prevent theater vandalism and projectionist accidents. His influence extended to casting, with several 1920s stars owing their breakthrough roles to his intervention. Actress Clara Bow reportedly attended several of Terranova's notorious parties, later confiding to friends that her sudden rise came after Ciro spoke to someone important. When Paramount released Underworld in 1927 without Terranova's approval, theaters showing it in New York mysteriously experienced projection booth fires. Terranova's downfall came during the Castellammarese War, when he allegedly froze while driving the getaway car after the murder of rival Joe Masseria. His reputation destroyed, he lost power, and died broke in 1938. 18. Lucky Luciano. The architect of modern organized crime didn't just reshape the underworld, he redesigned Hollywood from the inside out. Charles Lucky Luciano created the National Crime Syndicate, while simultaneously building an entertainment empire that turned movies from simple entertainment into a mafia money machine. Luciano's Hollywood strategy was simple but revolutionary. Instead of merely extorting studios, he made them partners. By 1934, he had placed associates in key positions at major studios, talent agencies, and, critically, film unions. When Luciano orchestrated the takeover of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, he gained the power to shut down any production in America with a single phone call. Studio executives quickly learned to accommodate his suggestions. His Hollywood influence extended to content control. Films portraying Italian Americans as criminals mysteriously faced production problems unless approved by Luciano's representatives. Stars including Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland, and Dean Martin were required to perform at mob-controlled venues at reduced rates. Refusal wasn't an option. When a young Sinatra initially balked, his career stalled until he reconsidered. Even from his deportation to Italy in 1946, Luciano maintained his Hollywood connections. Italian film productions suddenly featured American stars owing favors to Luciano, while his autobiography became the uncredited basis for numerous mob films. Director Francis Ford Coppola admitted that aspects of The Godfather were based on Luciano's innovation of making crime a business, not just violence. Film critic Pauline Kael once wrote, "American cinema's obsession with gangsters isn't just cultural, it's Stockholm Syndrome." 19. Albert Anastasia. They called him the Lord High Executioner, and Albert Anastasia turned Hollywood into just another territory to conquer, until his legendary barbershop assassination changed cinema forever. As the ruthless leader of Murder Incorporated, Anastasia didn't just kill for the mob, he became its connection to the entertainment world through control of the Longshoremen's Union and its grip on film distribution. Anastasia recognized a golden opportunity. Movies shipped to theaters had to pass through his docks. By 1940, he had established a simple system. Studios paid regular shipping insurance, or their films suffered mysterious damage, disappearances, or delays. When MGM briefly resisted in 1942, their major release Mrs. Miniver arrived at theaters with critical reels missing nationwide. His influence wasn't limited to distribution. Anastasia's control of the Westchester County nightclub circuit made him a kingmaker for performers. Singers and comedians who entertained at his favorite venues found doors mysteriously opening at record labels and studios. Those who refused often found their careers stalled, or worse. Comedian Alan King later admitted, "We didn't call it working for the mob. We called it career advancement with extreme consequences for declining." On October 25, 1957, Anastasia's reign ended in the barber shop of New York's Park Sheraton Hotel, where two men entered and fired 5 shots into his face as he sat in the chair. The murder shocked America but sent Hollywood executives secret sighs of relief. Within months, studio shipping insurance payments decreased dramatically. 20. Sam DeStefano. Hollywood knew him as Mr. Outside, but Chicago called him Mad Sam, the loan shark too vicious for the traditional mafia, who still managed to sink his teeth into the entertainment industry. Sam DeStefano never appeared in gossip columns or attended premieres, but his money financed films, controlled celebrities, and eventually led to one of Hollywood's most mysterious deaths. DeStefano pioneered juice loans to desperate actors and filmmakers, charging 25% weekly interest while taking future earnings as collateral. By the early 1960s, he had dozens of performers trapped in financial servitude, forced to accept roles in mob-connected productions or perform at underworld venues to pay never-ending debt. When former child star Bobby Driscoll couldn't pay, he disappeared. DeStefano's most lucrative Hollywood connection was his financing arrangement with producer Mike Todd, Elizabeth Taylor's husband. Their partnership ended abruptly when Todd's plane mysteriously crashed in 1958. Todd had been skimming from their arrangement, and witnesses reported seeing DeStefano celebrate the news of the crash by ordering champagne at a Chicago restaurant, announcing, "The books are officially balanced." 21. Frank Costello. The Prime Minister of the underworld didn't just control New York. He had Hollywood's biggest stars on speed dial. Frank Costello mastered the art of mob sophistication, becoming the criminal world's ambassador to legitimate society, while secretly collecting more film industry profits than most studio executives. Unlike flashier gangsters, Costello operated with subtle precision in Hollywood. His masterstroke came in the 1940s when he gained control of California's wire services, providing race results to bookmakers. This seemingly mundane operation gave him leverage over countless actors, directors, and producers with gambling habits. Stars including Clark Gable, Humphrey Bogart, and Betty Grable quietly paid protection to Costello's representatives to keep their debts private. Costello didn't just extort Hollywood, he invested in it. Through frontmen, he financed numerous productions while laundering mob money through film projects. When the Warner Brothers needed additional funding for Casablanca, part of the money came from Costello's hidden accounts. The film's iconic line about rounding up the usual suspects took on new meaning considering its partial financing. His Hollywood power became evident when Costello survived an assassination attempt in 1957, taking a bullet to the head, but miraculously recovering. Studio executives sent lavish flower arrangements to his hospital room, and Frank Sinatra reportedly visited 3 times. 22. Meyer Lansky. They called him the mob's accountant, but Meyer Lansky was actually Hollywood's secret investment banker. The financial genius behind organized crime wasn't just counting mob money, he was funneling it into film productions, talent agencies, and studio acquisitions while developing the template for modern entertainment financing. Lansky pioneered using legitimate businesses to launder illegal profits, with the film industry providing his perfect canvas. By 1940, he had established multiple production companies that served dual purposes, cleaning dirty money, while controlling content. Films dealing with organized crime mysteriously received financing difficulties unless they portrayed certain ethnic groups positively. a direct result of Lansky's behind-the-scenes influence. His Hollywood masterpiece wasn't a film, but a system. Lansky created offshore corporations that invested in productions, purchased theater chains, and even acquired smaller studios, all while maintaining complete anonymity. Stars including James Cagney, Edward G. Robinson, and Joan Crawford unknowingly worked for productions partially funded by Lansky's network. As Robinson later remarked when the connections were exposed, "I made my career playing gangsters, never realizing I was actually employed by them." Lansky's greatest power came through his control of Las Vegas entertainment, where he determined which Hollywood performers worked the lucrative casino circuit. 23. Dutch Schultz. Before he became the Bronx's most feared gangster, Arthur Flegenheimer dreamed of being in pictures. Instead, Dutch Schultz ended up controlling them through a reign of terror that changed Broadway and Hollywood forever until his bloody end in a Newark restroom. Schultz's entertainment industry racket began with Broadway, where his protection schemes extracted payment from every major production by the late 1920s. Schultz's innovation was targeting stars directly rather than just producers. He pioneered the private performance fee, actors paying him personally to avoid theater accidents or career-ending rumors. When chorus girl Faye Madrid refused to pay in NI 1931, acid was thrown in her face by an unknown assailant. The message was received. Holdouts quickly disappeared. His influence spread to Hollywood when Broadway actors transitioning to film brought their fear with them. Schultz's representatives began appearing on West Coast sets, offering the same protection package. Schultz's reign ended dramatically on October 23, 1935, when he was shot in the Palace Chop House in Newark. Lingering for 22 hours before dying, he delivered a stream of consciousness monologues so bizarre it later inspired writers from E.L. Doctorow to William S. Burroughs. His final words became film noir legend. 24. Owen Vincent Madden. The British gangster who conquered New York's entertainment world didn't just control speakeasies. He created celebrities, destroyed careers, and eventually retired to Hot Springs, Arkansas, with Hollywood's darkest secrets. Owen "Owney" Madden immigrated from Liverpool, rose through the ranks of the Gopher Gang, and transformed himself from street thug to entertainment impresario through sheer ruthlessness and vision. Madden's genius was recognizing talent's value in the Prohibition era. His famous Cotton Club showcased black performers for white audiences, launching careers including Duke Ellington and Lena Horne while maintaining strict segregation. Less known was his talent tax. Those who flourished had paid, those who vanished hadn't. His Hollywood connections grew when he bankrolled early gangster films through Columbia Pictures, where his relationship with Harry Cohn gave him script approval on mob portrayals. When James Cagney's characterization in Public Enemy too closely resembled Madden, scenes were mysteriously reshot before release. Madden reportedly attended the premiere, telling Cohn afterward, "Much better. I don't see myself at all now." Mae West's career mysteriously took off after she began dating Madden's associate, George Raft. Coincidentally, theater owners nationwide suddenly found space for her shows, and film offers multiplied. When they separated, West maintained her success. 25. Jim Colosimo. Chicago's first true crime lord created the blueprint for mafia infiltration of entertainment that would shape Hollywood for a century. Big Jim Colosimo built his empire on prostitution before recognizing that controlling performers was even more profitable. Colosimo's Café, opened in 1910, became Chicago's premier night spot, where politicians mingled with criminals while enjoying performances from emerging stars. What patrons didn't realize was that Colosimo demanded more than applause from performers. His innovation was creating the first entertainment circuit controlled by organized crime. By 1918, Colosimo had established a booking network spanning Chicago to New York and reaching into early Hollywood, where performers who pleased him found doors mysteriously opening. Those who refused his advances or demands found themselves blacklisted across multiple cities simultaneously. Did you ever wonder why some Hollywood deaths remain unsolved, despite mountains of evidence? The stories we've uncovered are just the surface of an entertainment industry built on blood money and forced silence. Which legendary star do you think had their career or life cut short by the Mafia's invisible hand? Comment below with the Hollywood legend whose mob connections shocked you most. Remember, some of today's biggest celebrities are still on the list,